and welcome to Beads Jar. My name is Billy, and in today's tutorial I'll be demonstrating how you can make your Hex O Feather necklace using the brick stitch to create this beautiful hexagonal shape, and we'll be using the new Hex beads from Miyuki. We'll be working with these fabulous hex beads, so they're Miyuki beads, size 11, and I'm going to be working with two colours to weave using brick stitch this hexagonal shape. In order to put this together as a necklace, I'll be working with this fine chain and a slightly thicker chain, which is going to be used for the pendant part, and the other chain will be going around the necklace. We've got our tubular bead, some 5mm jump rings, this feather pendant, and I'll be threading all this up and weaving with a size 10 beading needle onto an 8-pound Fireline, and I've cut a metre length of Fireline and threaded that through. To finish, I'll be using scissors, a pair of side cutters and some flat nose pliers. So let's get started with our hexagonal project here with the hex beads, and if this helps you, you can always pre-do a small graph of your pattern as well, as I'm going to want the colours differently throughout this project. So you can see we've got the middle section with the outline of copper beads there, and this just helps you keep an eye on where you're threading your beads as you go through the pattern. So starting straight away, and what we're going to do is pick up one of our copper beads. We're going to create the largest line in our brick stitch, which is the middle of the hexagonal, and that's 9 beads in total. So I'm going to pick up my first bead and take this down my thread. I then want to pick up the second bead along, which is going to be the opposite colour. So there's the first bead, and my second one's on my thumb here, and I'm going to go through the first and bring these two to sit next to each other. So they're now sat side by side on the thread. We're now going to have another copper bead next to the blue, so I'm going back through, so we've created a loop all the way around. If they spread out a bit here, don't panic too much, they will sit better as we progress. So now I'm picking up a copper again, and my needle goes back through the blue. Like so. And then we go up through the copper bead. So you can see we're building that up, and then you've got another blue. So I've picked the blue up, I'm now going to go up through my copper bead, bringing that to the side, down through the blue, and then I'm continuing with 2 more blues on to the side of this one, so one at a time though. So we go down and then back up. Just tease it in if the tension slipped a bit. And back down. And then we're going on to the copper. blue. And the copper to finish our first row of 9. Oh, my thread's just popped off my needle. Bear with me one moment. Okay, so we're doing the last one. I've re-threaded the Fireline through my bead, so let's take that back. And this is the last bead on this row. And then I'm going to go back up that last bead in order to start threading across the top here. So you can see we've got our 9 beads, and then I can start building up the shape above it. So that was the row of 9, that's the largest one in the centre. To add our next row, I'm going to be picking up the copper hex bead in the size 11, and I'm going to go through. So I've picked up the bead and I'm going through the loop of Fireline that's between the 2 beads on the row below. So you'll see the beads sit now on top of those, and then we take our thread, so the thread's gone through in between them both, and we go up through the same bead again. I'm just pulling in the tension on the thread so that you can see how they're supposed to sit. As you progress with your pattern, you will notice this starts to pull in anyway, but obviously I'd like to show you how it's looking correctly from the start. I've picked up a blue and I'm going through the next loop, and then up through the blue. On that thread, and there you can see it's sat next to the copper. So check with your chart to see which one you next need. So the next one's going to be a copper as well, or in your design it might be different. So I've picked up my copper, and we come through and then up. And then I'm on to 2 blues, so one after the other. Don't be afraid to pick up your project and turn it round so it's easy for you to be threading your needles. You can move your project around. this is the last one for this row before we go up again. Okay, so we had our first row of 9, and then we went up to 8, and now we're going 7, 6 and all the way to 5. So you're just going to continue in the same way and following the pattern of the beads to what you've decided, or if you're copying mine, you can see we've got the kind of diamond shape throughout the hexagonal as well. So you just keep going until you've got to the 5th row, where I'll join you again for us to work back down and complete the opposite side of our hexagonal pendant. Okay, so we've done our 5th row, and I'm now going to be working my needle, so I'm going to go back through the 2nd one in and then up through the 3rd. So back just through that one, so you'll see my needles coming out there, and back across and up through this middle one. And here I'm going to want to pick up one of my O beads. So we're going to go through the O bead. And I want that flat. So I'm going to pop it there and then back through that middle bead again. And I'm getting that to sit as flat as possible at the end of my hexagonal shape, and we're going to go through the next bead down, and we're working our way across to the opposite side. So you're just coming across your beads, and we want to come out, so I'm going to have to go up one here, because I want to come out on that last row. So across, so just weaving across, one bead at a time. So I've come out of this top bead here. I'm going to flip that round, so I'm working from the side that's comfortable. And what I want you to do now is continue. So we had 9, so we're going on to our 8th row, so the same as this 8th row, and you're just working in reverse order to make the second half of this hexagonal beads. So you're picking up through, back through, pick up, and back through. So we're just continuing, and then once you get to the top of this hexagonal, I'll join you again for showing you how to put on the other O beads to attach our pendants. Right, we've come up and finished the line of 5 at the top, so we're going to add our O bead. So I'm coming out of the first bead here, and I'm going to pick up my O bead, and then I'm going to go back through that bead, so the 11, so that my O bead will sit flat like we did on the other side. And then I'm going to go up across to the next one, down, and up. Oops, I came up at the top, same one. So we go down and across. And then down. And out. So I'm going to have to cut through the Fireline, so I'm going through with my beading needle, and then I can come back up that bead, otherwise it'll just come back out on the other side of the thread. So that should now hold, and we pick up another O bead, and then back through. And now I'm going to come through the next bead on this row of 6, and this is where I'm going to do a knot. So the first of our knots to tie off this project, or the weave anyway, because then we'll be attaching the various pendant pieces. So here's my thread, and I'm going to hook through the beads and grab another of the Fireline threads. So my Fireline's coming across those, coming across the 2 beads, and I've caught that thread underneath my beading needle here, and as I pull my thread through, a loop forms with the Fireline here, and then we're going to go through that loop with the beading needle and pull that knot down into the beads. If you then take your needle through the next bead down, that knot's going to hide in between these beads here. Find your next thread that's through, I don't think I caught one then. So you want to get your next Fireline and then through that hoop and pull down and through the bead so I'm happy now that this thread with my beading needle on is nice and secure and is certainly not going to be able to pull back out of my bead weave as I've knotted it twice. So then you take your scissors and you take that thread away. Take your beading needle off the thread and you're going to connect it to this one, and then you're going to knot the ends into here as well. So we're back to our tail end thread and we're just doing the same again. So I'm going to take that through and we're going to pick up the thread running between, Fireline between the beads, and create our knot. And then through the bead again for the second knot. And then down and out with the thread. And then we are going to take that thread away. I want my little O's facing the right way. The second part I'll do is to connect the feather to the pendant that we've created, and I'm going to just need a jump ring for this as well, and my pliers, so flat nose pliers, and I've got 2 pairs here. To open my jump rings, I always do the same technique, so I hold one side and then with another pair of pliers I just push against, so I keep one hand still and bring one towards me. You then hook your feather pendant on, and then we also want to add the pendant that we've created with the brick stitch. So I have both component parts together now on the jump ring, and I'm just going to bring the 2 sides of the jump ring back together, so reversing the process on how I opened it so that they're together there, and that will connect them together. And then I'm going to have some chain running from the top of this project to the outsides of the tube that we have. In order to do that, I got some slightly thicker chain, so we're going to put a jump ring on the chain and to the O bead and to the top of the project here. So I'm going to have that length, so I'm picking up my side cutters and I'm going to cut that chain off. In order to get the same length again, take my beading needle and go through the top loop in the chain. I just have a piece of chain that's stuck on there, so I don't want that, that'll cause a scratchy bit, so make sure there's no extra chain on your chain. And then through with the beading needle, and then get the other piece of chain, and you can lay them alongside each other so you can cut the exact length of chain again. So I have 2 even lengths of chain now. Take your pliers again and open your next jump ring. This goes through the O bead and your chain, and close that back together. And then the same again on the other side. I'm now going to attach 2 jump rings to the top of the chain. So this has completed my pendant drop piece, and then we're going to run our chain through the tube. So I've got the finer chain that I'm running through, and in order to pop that on there, I'm just going to open this jump ring of the chain, take that through the jump ring and through the tube, and then through the jump ring. And I'm connecting that back together again. So I'll go through the end of the fastener from the chain and the chain itself as well. Check your jump ring has no splits and no openings on it and is well connected together again. And there you have your pendant hanging from the chain with that beautiful brick stitch as well, bringing those details together and giving you that beautiful effect there. Thank you for watching our tutorial today. If you've enjoyed it, please remember to give us a big thumbs up, and also you can subscribe to see all of our latest tutorials on our channel and see all our new designs and new beads. Until next time, bye!